And from being a CODA, you know ASL. What is ASL and how did you learn it?
ASL stands for American Sign Language, and I learned it from my mom, who is deaf. And I learned it before I knew how to speak, and my first sign was this, which is milk.
So what differences in the family dynamic have you noticed between that and your friends with hearing parents?
I definitely have a lot more quiet of family dinners. There's a lot more ASL instead of speaking to include my mom in conversations. We also have this thing, instead of saying excuse me, you kind of just bang on the table. And to hearing families, that seems kind of odd, but it's pretty normalized for us. This is my mom. Her name's Antoinette. She's my mother, and she happens to be deaf. And she uses ASL. That's her first language. And English is her second language.
So Antoinette, what are some stereotypes within the deaf community?
The deaf community has different categories, and within the deaf community, some deaf people refuse to use their voice. Some deaf people think it's fine to use their voice. And some deaf people don't have the ability to speak. It just depends on which category you're in. Some deaf categories see her as almost a looked down upon figure because she's a part of a hearing family and she uses her voice. Sometimes they'll question people like my mom on why they're involved in the hearing world. They want them to become only in the deaf world. Other categories of the deaf community are open-minded to her, and it just depends what category you're involved in. I'm gonna redo that. Sorry, it's hard to interpret. It's hard. How do they interpret, how long do they wait to start speaking? I've realized I've never had to speak for my mom in a formal setting.
You put them together.
Oh, it's hard because I wish you knew it, because she'll go you'll start off a story and it's a very slow start. So if I stay line with you, it's my goal when I was a little kid has always been, when I see films, I need to stop and wait and watch and then start to once I catch up.
Right.
Ugh, okay.
Deaf language, language different. Deaf is straight, I'm sorry, Chinese. It's straight, people talk, I think,
Yeah.
point, that's point,
Yeah, see, that's... Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good way to look at it. Okay. Let's start again.
How is it hanging out with your Italian family members, speaking ASL, and the concept of double translation to ISL?
My mom never needed an interpreter for the Italian family. But when she took Shakespeare classes for acting, she had to have two different interpreters. One was for very old English, who had to sign exactly on the dot for every line in Old English, and the other one was just normal ASL. So she was used to having a pretty wide variety of translation. And she's met deaf people in Italy who have deaf clubs, and their sign is totally different because they practice ISL instead of ASL. She always tried to follow it, but she'd never be able to understand, and she'd start to catch on to certain things, and she actually became pretty good at it and picked up on it fast. And in England, she had met a woman on a train, and I was with her. And she was sounding totally different, but she could read her lips. And this is where she picked up on that they're speaking British Sign Language, which is BSL.